We're good? Hey, time being 6:30, I'd like to call this meeting to order. We have the traditional territory acknowledgement. Council of the Township of Red Rock hereby acknowledges that we are on the traditional territory of the Robinson Spirit Treaty and that the land we gather on is home to the Red Rock Indian Band, the Anishinaabe, and Métis people. Are there any amendments to the agenda? Seeing none, can I have a mover and seconder for motion to approve the agenda as presented? Councilor Brand, Councilor Muir? All in favor? Motion's carried. Any disclosure of interest? Seeing none. We're now going to go into closed session under the authorities printed in the agenda. Can I have a mover and seconder for motion to go into closed session? Councilor Brand, Councilor Smith. All in favor? Motion's carried. Time being 7 p.m., call this meeting to order. Rising from closed session, council discussed acquisition and disposition of land, which was in the agenda. Okay, so our deputation, our presentation is a little bit late, so we're just going to continue on with the meeting and we'll fit him in once he shows up. So minutes from the previous council meeting, September 15th, 2025. Are there any errors or omissions? Seeing none. Can I have a mover and second to approve? Do you have to approve these minutes? Yeah. To approve the minutes from the September 15th, 2025 meeting. Councilor Brand, Councilor Muir. All in favor? Motion's carried. Okay, correspondence. We have. So we have NOMA, IESO, Wendy Landry was appointed to the board. Any questions or comments on that? I think that's great having somebody from around here on that. Okay, seeing none. 6.3 Thunder Bay Municipal League minutes from February 19th and March 5th and May 21st. Any questions or comments? Seeing none. Oh, I hear the door. Okay, we have 6.4 NOMA, the Forest Road infrastructure. Any questions or comments on that? Thunder Bay DSAP, June 19th, 2025 minutes. Any questions or comments on that? We'll fit you in after the correspondence, okay? No. Okay, 6.6, we have NOMA, natural gas expansion letter of support and resolution. Any questions or comments? I didn't miss anything, right? Okay. 6.7, Thunder Bay District, that health unit, June 18th. Meeting minutes, any questions or comments? Okay, we have 6.8, Office of Solicitor General, I'll say that. OPP billing, any questions or comments? Okay. That is the end of correspondence. So our presenters have arrived. Welcome. Gary, if you'd like, or there's two of you if you both want to come up. Oh. Yeah. So if you just want to press the button, what's your name? Eden. So Gary's from North Superior Workforce Planning Board.
Yes, thank you very much, Your Worship.
So if you just, there's a talk button on, yep, you'll see, there you go.
Okay.
Welcome.
Do we have people online, Richard? Do we have? Okay. Perfect. Awesome. Even better. Everybody gets to see me. No, I'm only kidding. See, I don't want to see this face, but well, thank you for having us here tonight. And we're here to talk about what's happening with our neighbor local market and our labor market in Northwest Ontario, particularly in the District of Thunder Bay, and particularly in what's happening in Red Rock. Just to let you know that we're one of 26 workforce planning boards in Ontario, and we specialize in workforce development, and we provide a lot of research information for free. And I myself, Gary Christian, I'm the executive director, and I've got Aidan Moranci, he's our research data analyst, and he's put a lot of this stuff together for us tonight. You can take a look at, and I'm just going to give you a bit of a snapshot of what's going on in your particular community itself, and see where things are going. And in your packages tonight, we gave you a 3-year outlook in terms of employment, where we see things are going in terms of the region here. And right now, we did a quick analysis today in terms of jobs and what's happening in Northwestern Ontario, in particular the Thunder Bay District. Unemployment right now is 5.7%. We're the second lowest in Ontario. So this region is doing quite well in terms of employment and unemployment, which is good. That's a good sign. Ontario right now is 7.7%. So in terms of that, we're doing quite well, and your community is actually doing quite well too. So we're lucky that way. Now we have on our website, you'll find it's called a job board. It's job postings specific to Thunder Bay and the District of Thunder Bay, and including Red Rock. And it's the package that was sent to you guys. Hope that you guys be able to get that. So this morning, when I took a look here, in the city of Thunder Bay, there was 1,168 job postings that were not filled. In the District of Thunder Bay, there was 1,336 job postings not filled. So we have a very, very tight labor market right now. There are 10 job postings in Red Rock right now that are not filled. So that's mainly in education, is obviously in the education center and healthcare and in the trades. So you even here within your community, there's a shortage of labor that you're going to see that, and that's going to get tighter. The Conference Board of Canada said that the tight market in Northwest Ontario is going to be at least 2 to 3 years. So it's not going to change. And we're seeing so much activity, or even here in Red Rock, you're talking about lithium processing happening here and it going out by ship. I mean, this is all going to happen. We're just seeing too much investments that are going on right now. And that's going to impact your community, because that means there's going to be more jobs, and that means there's more demand on your services that the people are going to expect. That means your community is going to grow. So you're going to see there's that perpetual thing that's going to happen. But the biggest thing that we fear right now in Northwest Ontario, and in particular our region, is that we have an aging population. And that's a big factor, because when we look at what you have in your community and say, okay, what's our current workforce happening? Freedom 65 for those born in 1959, 60, 61 is in 2026. So those people there are going to be at the point where, hey, I'm now 65 and I want to go. I actually want to leave. So what's going to happen is we're going to lose a lot of that experience out the door, because they're going to be leaving and retiring. And there's employers out there right now trying to convince them to stay, because the fear is that there's nobody behind them. And we're going to suddenly lose, especially healthcare and education. And you suddenly, even if you lose 3 nurses at the Nipissing Hospital, that's a big hit, when you get 3 nurses, because there's very few behind them to pick up and fill up those empty spots. So now, and that's a tight situation. Now, in Red Rock, we look at what they call the democratic dependency ratio. So what we do is we look at people age 0 to 14 and 65 and older. And in between that, we look at, okay, that's the workforce. So now for Red Rock, your situation is a little bit worse in terms of the population wise. Right now, it's 0.77. So that means that every 100 people working, 77 people between the ages 0 to 14, 65 and older depend on those 100 people to work, because those are the ones who are paying taxes into the community, which supports your recreational services and social services and whatever service you provide for the community. So your number is quite high. And don't be shocked, because it's not just you. It's right across Northwestern Ontario and right across the District of Thunder Bay. So we know that we have an aging population. This actually identifies that. Right? And so our biggest concern is that, we're not having enough immigration. And we've seen the government cut back on immigration. We've seen them cut back on study permits. And we also see that, and we hear a lot of things going on at temporary foreign workers. And people are saying, well, we can't bring them in. Well, they don't realize it's less than 1% of the population. But if you look at the jobs that the temporary foreign workers are filling, are the jobs that you can see them. Anybody say, well, we see them all the time because those are frontline jobs that people don't want to do. You know, the Timmy's and the grocery stores and the gas stations, you know, and there's nobody there to fill them. So, you know, there's a bit of misconception out there in terms of temporary foreign workers. So we need those temporary foreign workers because other words, you know, if they're gone, then you're not going to have servers working in the restaurants. And even in the hospital, I'm surprised maybe even within your community, some of the stores or businesses form that depend on those. Like I talked to a farmer in Dorian, like he hires 2 every year. Now the government told him you can only have them for 1 year. That's it. So it perpetuates itself. And now we're looking at communities like yourself. Now, you know, you suddenly have got this lithium plant coming in here. Now, where are you going to get the workforce to get that plant up and running? Where are you going to get the people to make sure that that ore gets onto the docks? Never mind getting it on the docks, getting it from the deposit up in McDermott area and Beardmore, getting it here. You still got to get it here. So, you know, your situation, and again, it's no different. Don't be, you know, alarmed by no means. You know, you're going to see that. And that's how tight our workforce here in Northwest Ontario is. And it's going to get tighter because we have a lot more things coming online. You know, the people are saying, well, the nuclear deposit is happening in Ignace, you know, well, that's only, no, that impact's going to impact us here because that means there's going to be more transportation on the highway. That's going to be more transportation on rail, more transportation on water. So that activity is going to increase the demand for more people, you know, because the demand's going to be there. So we're finding our situations that's even going to get worse. I was in a meeting today with the Ontario Vehicle Innovation Center Network, and they're from the Center of Excellence. You know, they're looking to jump on board with us. We're going to start a transportation study for our particular region, and we know with the mining sector and the booming that we're going to have with the nuclear deposit, that transportation is going to be key. I mean, even transporting the lithium product out of Red Rock, it's going to go by boat. That's a transportation corridor that's critically important and for all of us, no matter where we live on Lake Superior. So we're going to look at those and find out what has to happen, because if we don't have transportation, we don't have much. You know, and look at our highways. Look how busy the highways are in terms of trucks that are on the highways there. And we're saying, well, there's got to be a better method here. Remember back in the 70s, everything used to come in those trains. Remember, all the modules used to be on the train. They'd stop, take them off, load them off, and we never had the highway the business that we have right now. So we have to look at those and you know, really consider situations in terms of transportation. Now, when it comes, we're going to give you some information here. He's going to talk about this, but when you look at your annual income, actually, Red Rock is quite high. And your actual income right now in 2024 was 64,000. The only town that's beating you a little bit more than that is Nipigon. So Red Rock, your income, household income is pretty good here, and that's good. That's a good sign, because that means you know you've got income in that community that supports what's happening in your area right now too. The local businesses and everything else that supports the community. So, I mean, that's really important to see that. And what we're going to be doing later on is that we're going to talk about some things that are happening. And Aidan's put some information together of what we're going to see, and we're going to put something together for all the municipalities across Northwest Ontario. What we're seeing right now in terms of job losses, we did see the 300 jobs that got laid off with the Alstrom plant, and we saw the mill in Terrace Bay going down. But Alstrom now just got a big contract. They're going to bring another 500 people on board. So we're going to have those job gains coming up. Equinox Gold and Greenstone is still looking for people. They're struggling to keep a workforce there. The Generation Mine that's opening up in Marathon, they're talking 500 people just to build it, another 500 to run it. So, you know, we're going to see people there. So this impacts our region significantly. So we've seen some job losses. We don't know what's going to happen in the fourth quarter. The report you see for Thunder Bay, that's the second quarter report. And we're waiting for the third to come out. We're going to send that to you so you can see what's going on. And in the fourth quarter, we think that's where the softwood lumber dispute that's going to start to show up. We're going to see that likely start impacting some of the sawmill operations in our region, some of the forestry sections in our region too. We're seeing that. If you remember, the cap mill in Kapuskasing is gone. It's not going to come back up, unfortunately. The investment there is beyond the market itself can't sustain it, and that's what's Terrace Bay is facing the exact same thing. The market is not there for that product, even though they make exceptionally good craft that comes out of Terrace Bay because of the fiber that's used for that. So, you know, but we still can't get it off the ground. And there are investors looking at it, there's no doubt about that. But Kapuskasing is a done deal. It's not going to happen, unfortunately. And you guys experienced this here when Omtar at the time, I guess it was in Northern Rampak, ended up shutting it down. You know, it's one of those unfortunate things that we have to deal with. Now, with regards to what we do, And we do a lot of research. We have a lot of partnership with Skilled Trades Ontario, Stats Canada, Canada Revenue Agency, the Economic Development Commission at Thunder Bay, the regional community immigration pilot that's on. We're working with them on that. We still don't understand why that has not been spread out beyond the city of Thunder Bay. It makes absolutely no sense because communities are hurting for people. And I know the CDC and Jamie and her team have been trying to argue with the feds, and the feds, for whatever reason, just don't want to go forward with that. So we're going to be doing a labor market study and with LU and the CDC, looking at a 10-year projection needed for workforce and what's going to happen here. And that's going to include you guys. So we're going to actually get you a report eventually saying, hey, based on the current situation, current investments that are going to occur here, here's what we think that you're going to need for workforce. At least gives you kind of an idea of what you can prepare for. Like the town of Ignace, for example, they approved the subdivision of 250 homes. I mean, that's probably not going to be enough to do what they're going to do. Like Geraldton, for example, unfortunately, can't build any more structures because they're limited in their capacity. You know, and the government's not going to spend $200-300 million on sewer capacity so they can build more homes. Marathon, they got lucky. They built the 2 apartment blocks and they're putting in a small subdivision, but then they had the capacity there on the initial Hemlo starting itself. So we're seeing a lot of that happening in terms of that. So, you know, overall, you know, the picture that we have right now is quite good. You know, we look at our unemployment rate and we look at the jobs that are out there, and a lot of the jobs that are being advertised are very good paying jobs here. You know, these are not all, you know, work at a gas station or Timmy's or restaurant. These are high-end paying jobs. Education and health are still number 1 and 2. The trades are right there too. The trades are going to get worse, unfortunately, because again, a lot of people in the trades are at that point in the Freedom 65. I've talked to a lot of municipalities that the next couple of years, they're going to be losing a lot of their technicians because of that age factor. Some of them are trying to convince that they have. One township, 2 of their drivers are over 65 and want to go. They can't get, the town can't find drivers to replace them. I mean, they're scaring the earth trying to, a plumbing company in Thunder Bay actually moved the guy from BC to get a licensed plumber to come to Thunder Bay because there are no licensed plumbers. And he can't, and he's trying to service the North Shore and he can't because he doesn't have a journey person to do that. So he brought this guy, he actually paid for his moving to Thunder Bay, help him set up. And that's how desperate it is for tradespeople right now. Right? I don't know if you heard the guy that invented AI. He did a speech and people are saying, well, you lose all these jobs. He said, the first thing he said is, well, yeah, plumber. Because we're always going to need plumbers, right? No matter what. So it was a kind of a joke, but it kind of makes you think a little bit too, at the same time. So, but I'm going to give it to Aiden now. Aiden's going to talk about a project we've been working on and put together. And what we're trying to do is develop a spreadsheet that we're going to give each community. And you're going to have all the communities in Northwest Ontario, long-term pictures. So any municipality that's in Northwest Ontario, including First Nations, it's going to be on this file. So you can actually go on there. You can look at your community and you can compare your community to other communities and say, okay, here's how we relate to, say, even the Nippigan and Red Rock. How do you compare? How do you compare Lake Helen? How do you compare the Greenstone? How do you compare Marathon? And it's going to give you a whole bunch of data right at your fingertips. And the census is next year. Our plan is to update that also with the new census data. So you can actually look what's going on, and we can do that for you at no cost. And because you're going to need this stuff, because you're going to start making strategic decisions. It's, you know, it may help you making those decisions you're going to have to face, if not today, somewhere down the line. And we want to make sure that you have that in hand, and that's what we're here to do that. So the spreadsheet says, oh, it's right there. Good. So go ahead, Nathan.
Well, I think you covered about everything I would have liked to say, but
yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
So this is originally this spreadsheet was built just for the Thunder Bay region, but I added the data from Red Rock and Nippigan to it, so we could give this as sort of a beta test for a bigger spreadsheet data set we're going to do for all of Northwestern Ontario, hopefully eventually. And a lot of this is just interesting to look at, to compare Red Rock to other regional municipalities, but it could also inform some of your decision making. If you're, say, you need to have funding proposal, the government or the funder needs proof. Why do you need this specific funding? You can go on here and say, well, look, we don't have enough young people in this section, and this employment sector is tanking recently, so we need funding to attract people, just as an example. And there's also languages and dependency ratio, which is what Gary touched on as well, is very important right now. That's really all there is to say about this spreadsheet. But if you have any other ideas of what would be, because obviously we don't know exactly what you need. So if you're the end user of this and you want to give us some feedback on if there's some other stat that you would like on here that would be really useful for you, we would like that information so we can improve it and make it better. Other than that, yeah, the report that we handed out, that's just what I recently wrote. It really highlights how in our region, we really don't have enough workers, whereas in Southern Ontario, there are way too many workers right now. And that's just an interesting read if you want to go into that in depth. And we're not really sure what the government's going to do because it's a very obvious issue that people, for some reason, want to leave here, and people who are down south don't want to come here. So that highlights that. And the only other thing I would say is, yeah, if you need anything related to labor market data or any economic related data, assistance, if you need us to research anything for you, just give us, we have your contact, you have ours. So if you need any help with that, that's what we're here for.
It's also going to include the income in your community, the salaries in your community. We're going to give you all the data that you can take a look at it. And like, it's going to be a lot of information on here. So it's right at your fingertips. And that's the main thing, is that you want to have that in hand. So, you know, you can do a quick review of that. And the things that we can update that as we go on, like next year's, like I said earlier, is the census for
Right.
2026.
Yeah.
A lot of that data is going to get updated. And so we're gonna be able to get that, and it's gonna be able to go and put what it actually really is happening in your community. Because right now, some of the data is 5 years old, and its usefulness is kind of,
Yeah. The accuracy of this, I would say, is like 80% because it's all the projections that the government has done based on the 2021 census, but we know the population has changed drastically since then through COVID and such. So
yeah. The interesting thing too is that one thing we are seeing is a huge increase, and we've probably heard this on the radio and on TV, is the unemployment for youth. Right now in our district, it's about 15%. And men are 15%, women are 12%. But the overall rate is 15.7 when you look at it. And again, going back to temporary foreign workers, immigrant youth unemployment rate is 22%. So, you know, again, there's a lot of misinformation out there in terms of, you know, the youth are taking out. No, they're not. They're higher. They're higher, and it's much higher than domestic, or if you want to call it that, domestic, but people that live in our region originally. So they're experiencing a lot of things right now. And there's been some programs that are trying to address that, because I know that usually sometimes some of the communities hire summer students over the year. Sometimes some of the communities this year couldn't do that. They didn't have the funding to do it. They couldn't afford to do that. So, you know, those opportunities were gone for kids that used to get that on a regular basis. Right? So even youth are struggling in that. On the education side of things, we're doing quite well. 83% of the kids in the district actually go to high school and finish high school. That's a really good number. I mean, it's lower than Ontario, but the point is that we, in the north, we have demographics are an issue. You know, you've got a high school here, but you don't have one in Nipissing. The next one is a Marathon, then the one in Greensill. So, you know, we're so far apart geographically, but still having a success rate that high is actually quite good. That's quite impressive, actually. And in terms of getting a college diploma and education degree, in terms of degrees and master's degrees, you know, we're still about 28%. The province average is 39. We're down compared to that. But again, you know, if you're living in Nipissing, it's not so bad to go Lake University. You can go as on regular class, but if you're living in Greenstone, everything's gonna be online. So a 2-year or 3-year degree is gonna take you 5 years to complete. So those numbers are kind of misleading in terms of completion wise. So we're more than higher than that, but just we're spread out on a longer time period in terms of that. But so, you know, we are doing well in terms of that. Our education is coming out extremely well. We're still having a lot of out migration of youth. That's still a big issue. We're still not retaining international students as much as we should do. We did a study in 2022, and there's a lot of simple things to fix it, you know, to get them to stay. A lot of them actually, believe it or not, love Northwestern Ontario. They love the fact that they can buy a house here, they can actually live here and afford to live here, excuse me, and raise a family, because the cost of living is actually quite good. And, you know, there's that misconception that the cost of living is high, but no, it's not that bad here. And they like the lifestyle. You know, most of them come from huge cities that, you know, Thunder Bay would be like a neighborhood in one of these cities that they came from. They just couldn't get over that, you know, and they walk at nighttime and there's no one on the streets. I mean, one guy kept saying, they thought there was something wrong. They said, you know, was there a government shutdown, or because there's actually nobody on the streets? So no, that's a typical night that we have in the north. Eh? So, I mean, there's, you know, different things like that, but we're still not retaining enough of them right now. In the region here, in our district, there was about 2005 immigrants last year in 2024 that stayed here. So that was not bad. I mean, it's still not a very big number. I mean, our population growth is less than 1%. So we're missing out on that too at the same time. But there's still a lot of real big positives coming out of this. And in the next 5 years, we're going to see a big change in our economy. There's no doubt about that. I mean, mining is the thing. I don't know if anybody here attended the Central Canada Mining Conference. I met with several executives. Executive Mitsubishi came to Thunder Bay, and he saw he liked what he saw, and he went around the district. He did not just say that; he went all over the place and looked, and they really like to see what they see here because they see huge opportunity for investments. And these companies have big pockets, so we need them to invest that money here, which is a good thing. Okay, so but I mean overall, we're doing well. So, and like Aidan said, we do a lot of stuff and everything we do is for free. We don't charge anybody for it. And we just finished a big analysis for Ignace, but I mean, that was a major assessment that was done by a consulting firm. That's different because they're making money off that. But we know that municipalities struggle trying to get information for that kind of stuff. And we have it right in hand. Okay. So, and there's anything, if you're not sure on something or you need some clarification on, we can do that for you. Okay.
Great, thank you.
All
Do
right.
any councilors have any questions? That's a lot of information. Councilor Brand?
So why are the students not staying? And then Aidan, you said people here are leaving and Southern Ontario don't want to come.
Yeah.
What would be the reason for that?
That's kind of the golden question that nobody knows. Good now? Sorry. Nobody knows the certain answer to that right now. It's more of just the general perception that people have. And if you ask me, people's perception is that there's more opportunity elsewhere, but we're at a state where the perception and the reality are two different things. And it is very obvious through the data that the reality is staying here. In most fields, you're going to have better opportunity. If you go to Toronto right now as a 22-year-old university graduate, there's a very slim chance you're going to get a job, or you're going to be very underemployed if you do. So I think it's a disconnect between people's perceptions from 5 years ago, where, my older cousin, he had to go to Toronto to get a good job. And I'm going to do the same thing, but we haven't caught up to that point where people see that it's really the opposite right now. Yeah, it's going to take a lot of, I guess, public, how would you call that? Information.
Yeah, there's a lot of misinformation out there in terms of opportunities in the north. And it's difficult right now because the college universities are going through tough times in terms of the reduction in international students. So they're facing some issues there. And of course, that negative issue also reflects on people that are here right now and they're graduating. Well, there's no jobs. But the thing is, we've got to make that connection, and it has to start at the high schools. Just as an example, in 2024, there were 300 job postings for electricians in Northwest Ontario. 300, less than half got filled. And these are tradespeople that they were looking for apprentices, and we're not filling it in. We've got to talk to the kids at the high school level. And when it comes to apprenticeship, mom and dad are the worst. They're the ones that are causing a lot of the aggravation when it comes to the trades. Mom and dads don't, for whatever reason, don't want their sons and daughters to become a tradesperson. And we tell them, look, and by the time they finish their apprenticeship, they're on the sunshine list. At 23 years old, you're making 100 grand a year, and you're a licensed technician, be it whatever you're getting into. I mean, I think that would be a pretty sweet spot to be in, as far as I'm concerned. But parents are still pushing their kids. No, I want you to go to college university. And the reality is that, college university is not for every kid that's out there. 60% of the kids that come out of high school do not go to college university. So what are they going to do? I mean, so, I hope I'm not offending any parents here, but I mean, and we've seen it. I've had a situation, a young lady wanted to be a machinist. She loved it. And I actually gave her the machinist book, and her mom said, no, you're going to university. I put money away for you to go to university. And I felt bad for the girl because she saw something that she really liked and wanted to do that, but mom's going to push her to university. And unfortunately, I don't know what happened, but, I just hope she didn't fail in university, because that's disgrunting that person to want to be a tradesperson. Eh? So, I mean, there are just so many opportunities in the trades right now. It's ridiculous. Eh? I mean, yeah, I mean, just tell kids like, come on, think about
Council,
it.
anybody? No questions? Councilor Brand?
Another one, I noticed, and from talking with other people, they say they've applied for jobs or they'll look at a job and it'll say, but you need 3 years experience or you need this. But how can a person who's looking for a job and wants to get the experience if they have that snag, right? So why do companies insist on having that?
You know, and you're right on that. And there's other factors too that, but you're right. There's a lot of employers are looking for that. And we've had to convince a lot of employers that, first of all, you're not going to get them with 3 years experience. They're going to be fairly new, if not just recent graduates. And like Aiden graduated from Lakehead last year, the economics program. We just hired a research specialist. She graduated from the MSc program at Lake University. And we do those internships because they know they're not going to get the experience, but they're going to at least get it through us to bring them into the workforce. But you're right. And that's an issue. There's employers that are demanding 5 years experience. Well, they're not out there. And we've explained to them several times that they're not there. So you're going to have to rethink yourself. Back in the 90s and even the early 2000s, employers were training people, right? But now they're not training anybody. They don't want to spend money on training. So, you know, they're expecting people to come trained while ready to go out to go and do the job. But that's not reality. And another factor too is that a lot of people apply for jobs, and unfortunately, they don't have the skill sets that actually that job demands. So sometimes it's not the experience; it's the skill set. And if they don't have that, then they're not going to get that job. And one of our partners is Literacy Northwest and Employ Next. It was also they're managing the Employment Ontario programs in Northwestern Ontario, and their job is to do that, get those people who are missing those skills. A lot of times, people are underemployed because they're missing a couple of micro credentials. That's where we're going to pick up those people like that. You know, they may just need a couple of credentials and they got experience, but then they're missing the credential side. So there's two sides of the story to look at that. But we think that there's a lot of people out there, especially First Nations, huge amount of experience, huge, but are just missing some credentials to get them in the workforce too. Eh? So we're going to see that change. I mean, but you're right. It's an issue that we got to get employers to think out that door and think about that. Eh? So, and that's only going to get worse, by the way. We know that. I mean, you know, it's just reality. Look at the job ads that are out there right now. It's incredible.
Well, thank you, Gary and Aiden for this presentation. We know Red Rock is a hot spot and all the surrounding communities. So we know that the workforce, we will be, you know, in dire need for it. We are already speaking about the jobs that we have in the community. So I look forward to the information, and again with the census coming next year, all that information.
Yeah, we'll put it together.
Great.
We'll be presented at NOMA. Hopefully by then we'll get at least some of some will be available to us. And my counterpart, Stats Canada, my lead, thinks that probably by February, if not March, we'll have some information. So hopefully if not for the municipal league meeting, for sure NOMA, we'll have something we can present at that stage there, and then we'll break that down into the community level. So hopefully. And a lot of stuff, Stats Canada, unfortunately, doesn't take the small communities into account, which is really not right. And we've argued that why not? Suppose they made some changes to stats for this year's census. So hopefully there'll be data we can say, here's what's happening specifically now in Red Rock. Okay, so, but you guys got a lot of work in your hands.
Great. Yeah, we do.
You do.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Okay, thank
you
you for having us come.
Pardon me?
Thank you for having us here. I appreciate
Yeah,
that.
thank you for coming.
Yeah.
Have a safe drive home.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, thanks. Okay, next up on the agenda is the report on administrative activities. Thanks, see ya.
Alrighty. So just some of the summary of activity. I guess some of the highlights. Again, going through the recruitment or selection process for an integrity commissioner to serve the township of Red Rock. So we'll be going through that process. Again, we we had a 6-month notice from our current integrity commissioner that he's moving on to retirement. So started that process and we'll continue to bring some information to council on that in the next little bit. AMCTO staff training this week. Our staff had taken training on October 1st. It was from all accounts and reports back to me, it was a great session and staff engaged and participated in the training, and that was in Thunder Bay, and a lot of that was based on customer service and daily interaction with the public. Circular materials, we're still working very closely with circular materials through a municipal working group, and that is again the government mandated recycling programs that will be entering our communities. Again, Red Rock, because we currently provide curbside garbage collection, but not curbside recycling. We will be part of a transition moving forward in 2026, where the plan is to have curbside residential pickup within the municipality of Red Rock. Again, we're working through the process with the province on that, but that is something that is coming, and it is going to come to our whole region, including Red Rock. AMCTO Zone 9 annual conference. Myself, as well as Samantha, attended this past Thursday, Friday. That was our Municipal Clerks and Treasurers of Ontario Association, and Zone 9 is our zone here in the Thunder Bay district. That was again in Thunder Bay as well. If we move to the direction, discussion, and updates, just some reminders and some discussions of the Ontario Senior Achievement Award. They did extend the nomination period. I know we put that out on our social media today, as well as the Ontario Volunteer Service Awards. So both are the information is on our social media pages, and we ask anyone who wants to nominate someone in our community to do that. The student counselor process, I just wanted to bring this back to council for clear direction. We talked about this at a previously at council, and the direction at that time was to look further into this. I know the mayor of Nipigon has reported that she's looked a little bit further into this. I haven't had a recent discussion with her, but is again with council. Is that direction, just to be clear again, is that to follow this up for the remainder of this term, or is that to kind of work at looking towards this for the next term of council? I guess I wasn't sure on the clear direction last time. If I think we could reach out now, but it may be something that takes, a few months to get going. We have spoke with the Township of Marathon. I have gotten their policies and procedures around it, but as we get, it's kind of crazy, but we are getting closer to a 2026 election again. So do we bring this in now? Do we start this process, or is this something that we want to wait until the new term of council for?
Councilor Muir?
Are the students elected through the municipality, or are they appointed by council?
So I don't have the copy of the Marathon policy and procedure in front of me, but I do believe they're selected by you. So they're not elected. They would be, we would, I guess in general, we would reach out to the school, more than likely into the guidance counselor office, and really take names. And then if we did get names, that would be a selection of council. So again, they would sit at a council meeting similar to this. They would not sit in any closed session meetings. They would not, vote on any issues of that nature. I don't believe, especially, I know they do not attend closed session, but that would be the process. We would go to the school, more than likely have a discussion or a meeting with the guidance counselor, and then put a process together where we put a proposal out for somebody to provide their names, and then as a council, you would pick that student.
Council Mir.
Yeah, I like the idea of starting now, because if you have a student that's graduating, when they're 17 now, they turn 18 by the time they graduate, they can actually run. So I think it'd be nice to try and get that process now if there's an interested student.
Sir Smith.
Yeah, I can kind of concur with what Councillor Muir stated. I think, we should do it now. We're the council that would like to see it happen. So also start it now. What if the other council says, no, they don't want to do it anymore? I don't know. I would like to at least see it start.
Yeah, and we can certainly do that. We can review that policy as early as later this week. I know there's some more training around emergency management for staff tomorrow and tomorrow, Wednesday and Thursday. So we'll look at that and we'll bring a report back to council and have a discussion with the high school on that. The Roma Annual Conference, we just like to bring these, I mean, it almost seems like sometimes one ends and another one is advertised, but again, the Roma Annual Conference, our chance again to bring our interests and our requests to the minister level. That'll be in Toronto, again, January 18th and 20th. So if anyone on council is thinking they may want to attend, we will just reach out to myself or Whitney, and we can have that discussion. Then just a general reminder: Local Government Week is coming up October 19th, so you may see where we're trying to promote that through our social media. And if anyone sitting as an elected official would like to bring anything forward or participate in anything, bring anything, just let us know, and we'll be happy to facilitate that as well. And then finally, just a follow up with council. We've been trying to schedule this the visit to inspect Phragmites numerous times now. It's always seemed to be rescheduled. It's again scheduled tentatively for this Friday. So haven't heard word that is canceled as of yet. So. And that's it for the report at this time. Unless there's any questions.
Any questions or comments on the report? No. Okay, could I have a mover and seconder to approve the report as presented? So Brand, Councillor Muir. All in favor? Motion's carried. Okay, we don't have anyone attending the meeting in person, so there is no question period. We have the confirming bylaw. Can I have a mover and seconder for motion to confirm proceedings of council? Put your hand up, Councillor Smith. Councillor Muir? All in favor? Motion's carried. Okay, next meeting is October 20th. Okay, we'll see you all then.